was told that I had daddy issues because my father wasn't around, because my mother played the father and the mother role or whatever have you, quote unquote father and mother role. My mom played the mom role. She never ever tried to, in my view, try to fill in for my absent father, right? So, and my mindset was I can't miss or feel like I don't have what I need because I never, it just wasn't there.
Experience it.
Right? And you don't have to experience from your actual father. My grandfather, to me,
there you go,
was my father figure. He taught me what it is to, what I deserve as a woman. So I dismissed that thing that I had daddy issues because my biological father wasn't there. I had my grandfather. I saw how he took care of my grandmother. I saw how he took care of kids that were not his, that my grandmother had. When he came in and he stepped up to the plate as a man and a father figure in their lives, he played a father figure in my life as well as my children's lives. So I didn't feel like, if you wanted to say I had daddy issues, that would not have been the reason for me. So
welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Auntie's podcast. I am Joe.
I'm Key.
And I'm Jay, where we keep it real,
raw,
and relatable
while sharing our experiences
and opinions
and feelings.
Yes. All right.
So today's topic, we are going to touch a sensitive subject for some. Daddy issues. How do you deal with it? Do you have them? Have you recognized that you have them?
You asking a lot of questions.
All that encompasses daddy issues.
Do you have them?
So
let's talk about the term in itself.
Yeah, what does it really mean?
So for what I wrote down here, what I collected, it says the term daddy issues is often misused to shame women, but has real psychological roots.
Or which often refers to unresolved emotional conflicts or challenges related to their relationship with their father.
That's probably just tied to the psychological roots.
Yeah, for sure. But so it's always good to define it because I think people have different meanings for it. Like men sometimes will throw that out there, the term, or she got daddy issues, and 9 times out of 10 they're attributing it to the fact that maybe she comes from a single family home.
I've been told that.
So she doesn't know, you got daddy, you never had a man in the household, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes that could be the case, but sometimes it's not. Like that's, you can't just blanketly throw the term around thinking that it's going to stick when it's not always applicable.
Or it's how they interact or with their partners.
Yeah.
You know, so they say they have daddy issues because they're calling their partner daddy.
I do. It's cringy to me.
It's cringy to me.
It just sounds weird when hey dad. I don't
even want my partner. I don't be calling me mommy either.
Yeah.
Or, see, it's the same thing for me for the opposite sex. Don't call. If I'm your woman, don't be calling me mommy, mammy, none of that stuff. Don't.
She said mammy?
They be doing whatever they be saying.
Just mommy.
Whatever they be saying.
You don't want to say, mommy, how you doing, mommy?
No.
See, I'm one of those that will call him dad. I will. Especially if you're doing right.
I just can't do it.
It's just
I think it's a term of endearment. I just can't. I get it.
And not everybody gets that title. Let's be clear. You got to earn me calling you daddy.
Yeah, I can't do it. I will be, I laugh so much. I'd be like, dad. Daddy. I'm a jokester. It just won't even come off. It won't even come out right. Like, I just can't do it. It just sounds funny to me.
Babes, honey, I can stick to that. Daddy,
I can't call it daddy.
I can't do it.
It just sounds funny to me. I just but I get it. There are some women that will say that.
So for those who are in a 2-family household, right?
Yeah.
And you call your dad daddy.
Yeah.
You go from calling your dad daddy to your man daddy. Like, and I guess it kind of like, so one of the other things they say, right, is the father is the first representation of who you ultimately date in life, right? But my daddy to him is just special. That belongs to him.
Yeah, I can't do it. But I know that women do it. I just, that's not me.
To me, it's mostly a term of endearment.
I get
it. Yeah. Nobody will ever replace my dad. I
feel you. Yeah. I don't know. I think sometimes there are people that use the term too loosely. And I equally think that there are situations situations where women do have daddy issues, and that they may lack emotion, or because you can have daddy issues and still come from a two-family household because the father was just emotionless. Like, he didn't show you any emotions, and maybe you just vied for his attention all the time. Maybe he catered more, if you had siblings, catered more to the sons as opposed to you, or maybe was too strict on you, or there's so many different variables that come into play.
I think it could be the flip side, because sometimes it's like the dad focuses more on the daughter, so she can have daddy issues from that perspective, where it's like she's expecting certain things from her partner because of the way her dad was with her. So,
that's true too. That's true.
And I don't have to study an issue per se, but it's like if a father is showing you how you should be treated from your partner, what your expectations should be in the partner, by how he is with your mother, and then how he is with you, I wouldn't necessarily categorize that as an issue per se, but it can show up in a relationship where her partner doesn't understand her expectations because he doesn't understand how to even be a man. So I'm just thinking. Go on. You got thoughts? I can see it in your face.
Go for it.
Okay. This is somewhat of a sensitive subject for me. I guess in the last 2 years I've gotten comfortable with talking about it. I was molested in my teen years. For some reason, I blocked out a lot of things that happened to me as a child. And I'm realizing that now as bits of memories are coming back. It still does not show me who the person was. But it plays a part into why I don't talk to my brother, one of my older brothers.
Okay.
So when my dad died, there was a Oprah episode where they were talking about suppressed feelings and how a tragic event would start bringing back all these memories. And that was when I started having bits and pieces of memory come back. And a deep part of me feels like I might have been not just by my brother, but by my dad. And I struggle with that because I learned a lot from him. I do miss him, but then I'm not sure if it was him, because I'm still getting bits and pieces of memory. I'm getting bits and pieces of a close friend of my father's in this memory, and my godfather. So I'm still struggling, and I'm still trying to deal with it. And I know that now more than ever, because that plays a part in my trust issues. That plays a part in a lot, because the men that were in my life, who I was supposed to be trusting, I don't trust. And I don't trust no one. I could trust you as far as I could throw you. And that's how I've always felt. That's how I've survived. But I know I need to deal with that at some point.
I think so, because it sounds like to me, based off of what you're just saying, it's like 4 or 5 people that could potentially,
but like, you don't, one of them I know for sure.
One you know for sure, but the others, it's like you have it in these different images where it could possibly be one or the other. Or not, right? So I just hope that you do whatever it is you need to do to figure it out, because I think you need to resolve that, right? But not for them, but for you,
for yourself.
For myself.
So you can figure out. Because if you're going to be angry, you want to be angry at the right person. To me, in my mind, you want to be angry at the right person. So now you can get through that anger with the actual person, and that you could, like, each step I think is going to be growth, right? So first is figuring out who it is, having whatever the emotional responses, whether it be anger, relief, or whatever.
But it's not anger anymore.
I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know what the emotional response is going to be. I'm just saying once you've identified, I'm feeling like once you've identified the person, or know for sure who you feel like it really is, as you continue to peel back the pieces and learn whatever your emotional response is, like all the phases you're gonna go through. I should say, because we don't know what they may or may not be. All the phases you're gonna go through once you have uncovered that, and hopefully, I mean, the fact that you're even talking about it right now,
that helps.
It took a long time to even get to this point, because as I said, the last few years has been a lot of reflection on my life, me just overall, and a long time I was angry. As I got older, I started to accept the fact that this happened, and I've been been able to achieve what I've done with this in
You
the
don't let it
background.
impact you.
I didn't let it impact my life, but it also made me realize how I moved as I was getting older. And now this premenopausal shit
brings up a lot
is
of
really
stuff.
bringing up a lot of stuff, and I'm trying to deal with it. So
It brings up a lot.
I'm at a point now where I get emotional over the littlest thing, and I've never been like that, and I'm struggling with that too. Because right now I'm tearing, I'm really trying to hold back tears.
You got a lot.
My friend got a lot, so
I feel like I'm turning into mush, and I don't like that.
Listen,
but don't get it twisted,
worse.
people.
It's a lot to deal with, and I think there are more women that have had similar situations like you that suppress it and don't talk about it, and then it comes out later, and all the while they're navigating life. But we wonder, to your point, why we make the decisions, or why they're making the decisions that they're making. It has to do with the baggage that or even in the relationships that they have. It has to deal with the baggage. Just to your point, that for the men that were in your life, you were looking for the safety, and that was something that might have lacked in certain areas. And that's a problem for you, right? So I think that at one hand, when you mentioned it, I cringed a little bit to be like, ooh, do we want to bring this up on the podcast?
Right.
But on the flip side, it's like, okay, this is something that you obviously want to share. But I think too, for the other women out there that hear this is a real thing that happens, and this is why it's so important to protect your kids and be mindful of who they're around, and it could be family members. Because it happens so often between family friends and family members. And some of those women will go throughout life and they will not share, but they will build up a tough exterior or whatever it is to get them through it. Right? So I think that is just so important to just be mindful of who is around your kids, and everybody ain't family. And when the kid don't want a hug, you ain't got to force that kid to have no hug. If the kid don't want a kiss, you go, come meet y'all, go come meet. And if they standoffish, because a lot of times kids, even when they're young, they pick up
and
on
I'm gonna say lean
emotions.
into that.
You gotta
take those cues.
That's right.
Ask it, is everything okay?
They're
not acting that way for no damn reason.
They're not acting, and then if you on the flip side, when you notice that your kid is displaying certain behaviors, it ain't coming from just, sometimes it's teenage stuff, but even then something is triggering it, right? So you just tap in. Sometimes as parents, we're so focused on our own shit that we not even paying attention to the things that our kids show us, or we dismiss it as if it's nothing, and then they carry it with them for years. Like we said this in so many times in this podcast, a lot of the stuff and the issues stems from childhood. A lot of it. We got to heal our inner child, or make sure that inner Josie feels safe. Inner Josie feels proud.
Call me Josie. Not too many people get away with that.
We get special privilege.
I don't know where the pussycats are at.
Josie and the pussy. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay. But yeah. So but that's a deep thing to share, but and just work through it. You gotta get the help to work through it. But yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Because that takes a lot. So I appreciate that.
I'm probably gonna get backlash from this, so I apologize in advance for anybody who sees this.
Listen.
Well,
it's my truth.
That's all you. That's where it comes from.
Exactly.
Backlash. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Backlash
So you
none,
feel strong enough and confident enough to put it out. This is your truth. This is your life. They got to deal with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's shit.
Yeah. So I mean, you talk about these things. So one of the things that as I was looking at this topic and thinking about this topic, so I was raised in a single household. My father was not around. I know who my father is or was, because today I don't even know if he's still alive. Hopefully he is, and if he isn't, may he be rested in peace if that is the situation. I just don't know. But my mother was a strong mother, and I was told that I had daddy issues because my father wasn't around, because my mother played the father and the mother role or whatever have you, quote unquote father and mother role. My mom played the mom role. She never ever tried to, in my view, try to fill in for my absent father, right? So, and my mindset was, I can't miss or feel like I don't have what I need because I never, it just wasn't there.
Experience it,
right? And you don't have to experience from your actual father. My grandfather, to me,
There you go.
was my father figure. He taught me what it is to what I deserve as a woman. So I dismissed that thing that I had daddy issues because my biological father wasn't there. I had my grandfather. I saw how he took care of my grandmother. I saw how he took care of kids that were not his, that my grandmother had. When he came in and he stepped up to the plate as a man and a father figure in their lives, he played a father figure in my life as well as my children's lives. So I didn't feel like, if you want to say I had daddy issues, that would not have been the reason for me. So I don't feel like that's always the case because of a father's not available or in the home. Because to your point you said earlier, people still have daddy issues whether that man is there for different reasons.
Different reasons.
Because and so one of the things that I did see or that I did read, that it does play a part. Daddy issues, quote unquote, do play a part into how you show up in relationships, how you cultivate relationships, whether it be your partner, your friends, or even with your family members. It shows up there. So what things do you feel or see that daddy issues play in how you interact with people or cultivate relationships, whether it be with your partner or friendships, or even in the workplace? Because it also showed how women actually negotiate for their salaries and show up in the workplace.
It can. I think sometimes it depends if a woman is like very much independent. I think that can show up where she will be either super independent or be dependent on everybody to, could go one or two ways, right? So I think that is one way. I think you mentioned the trust issues, that definitely will rear its head in different areas.
So you don't trust anybody to do anything for you. You're the person that's got to do everything. Even though you delegate and you give that responsibility to other people, you're still not fully trusting in the work that's being given to you because you're struggling with the trust and you got to go back and double check. So it's like you're doing double the work.
It'll rear its head in so many different ways. I think it also rears its head where, like, again, going back to the independence thing, where you feel like I could just do this all by myself. I don't need nobody. I got this, because you've been doing it by yourself. And the other thing is when you lack emotion, right? Because you've never been loved on hard or felt that love from a male figure, where you draw a boundary, right? A blockade, so to speak, to if they do you wrong, you're like, oh, it's okay, because you already put up that wall.
But it's weird. I didn't I knew my father loved me. I was always the one that went everywhere with him. I learned. I'm not saying I didn't learn anything from him. I know this happened. It had to be before I was 5. That's how I'm looking at the whole thing. Because up until then, other than him being extremely strict with me, I knew he loved me. So that was never the play or the issue with anything. I won't say is that. The trust issue is when he died and the thoughts and the memories started coming back. I was conflicted in how I should feel about him. Is this true? Why would my daddy do this to me? But then I'm thinking about all the things that he did do. And I'm like, this can't be. That can't be him that I'm seeing in my images. So I'm still struggling with that, but I've learned to accept the fact that now I'm old.
You're not old.
I'm old to the point I'm older to the point that it didn't define anything.
Right.
I'm still who I am.
Yeah.
So
you were able to.
I've accepted it,
and that's good. You were able to push through, because some people can't. They that stuff is still
it holds them back.
It holds them back, right? It holds them back, and they don't know how. They don't know how to move forward.
Yeah.
And they get stuck in certain things. They probably think that they're moving forward. They probably think they're living. They think they're coping, but certain things happen that's gonna trigger that. So I think it also plays a part into how you choose a partner. So if you have a father who wasn't very kind, who was abusive, whatever, you may choose a partner like that.
Yeah,
if you have a father who is kind, you have a father who was very doting on your mom, you're going to possibly choose a partner like that.
Yeah.
So it does play, I mean, it could be good, bad, or whatever, but I think it does, daddy, I think I'm struggling with the thing saying daddy issues. I don't know if I like the saying.
I mean, there's no other way to the term. It encompasses all of that. It's not like you can define it and say this is not a daddy issue. No. All that plays a role because, and I'm gonna have a nice fun fact for that one too. But it does play a role in it. Your relationship with your dad cultivates your overall being in the early years, and he is your first male figure that you are in love with, or
if he's around, yes.
Yes, if he's around, yes. You can have a relationship with your mom, and that can be a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole nother because
there's different ways that's happening.
There's mommy issues too.
Yes,
like,
but usually sons have the mommy issues, and
sometimes
girls have.
Sometimes not. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
It's usually daddy's girl, mommy's boy. So it plays a part. But
and I also think too, like to your point, even the daddy issues thing is usually geared towards women, but there are men that have conflicting relationships with their father. So wouldn't that not be daddy issues? Not in the same, I mean, we don't look at it like that because of how we've been conditioned to think, but the reality is it's still a daddy issue.
But it's a vicious cycle, because if they had issues with their dad and then now their father, it's rearing its ugly head in how he fathers
his children. It could.
Because there are fathers out there who do break the cycle.
Yeah.
Do break that cycle.
And it's nice to see.
Yeah.
But then you have a lot of them that's out here just slinging it
that don't
and making babies
because they think that's the way to go.
And go because that's what they learned from watching their dad. I mean, all that rears its ugly head in some way, shape, or form.
I was gonna say I think that independent of whether it's mom issues or daddy issues, the reality is it's not the person's fault. Like sometimes we tend to blame the woman for that, right?
And it's not.
And it's not her fault because of an absent father, whether he's absent emotionally or physically. But it is her responsibility to heal from it, so that she's not bringing in that extra baggage to whatever situation she is. Yeah, because unhealed stuff can cause chaos in a relationship.
And people do. They always say, "Oh, it's what I dealt with in my childhood. What I dealt with in my
childhood."
But now you're an adult. Now you need to do the work to figure that out.
Yes.
So a question: can absent fathers make a comeback, or is the damage done?
It depends on how he came back.
That's a good you hit it on the head. It does.
If you're gonna come back, you better make sure you are fully prepared for all that comes with it. You gotta allow that child to voice whatever feelings and take it and digest it so y'all can move forward.
Yeah, you can't be bucking bean like you gonna come back like this. That's not like you've been there for years. Yep. You can't do that. That's not gonna work.
Or saying like, "Oh, it happened. Get over it." No, you can't have that, because at the end of the day, that child had feelings growing up because you weren't present.
That's right.
You got to let them express it and get it out so they can heal.
That's absolutely
in
correct.
order for the both of y'all to heal.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I agree 100%.
And if you can't accept how he felt or how she felt,
then it ain't gonna work.
It ain't gonna work. You can't come in there with this
ego.
attitude.
They gotta lose the ego.
Yes.
That's what it boils down to. You gotta lose the ego. You know, you gotta be humble and be like, okay, let me tell you about my story. I was young. I did blah blah blah. I was stupid.
Because they do have a story, right?
They have a story.
Yeah, I understand.
I wasn't being responsible. This and that and other. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. They got to come and apologize, because some of it is how they were brought up and how they were raised and what they went through in their life experiences. Sometimes, right? So they have to come, like you said, to be open. Because that was my other question, but we talked about it. Was, do we ever have a real conversation with our fathers, or do we just accept that's how he is? And the answer is absolutely, in my mind, absolutely not. You owe me the time to allow me to vent, whatever it is. Yeah, I want to hear what happened with you and why things happened, but you need to hear what I went through when you weren't here,
because you was
and how it
adult
affected me and impacted me, and if it did, because it doesn't always affect or impact people, because it didn't affect me, because like I said, I had my grandfather, right? But
you're right. It's interesting, because when I did try to have a discussion with my father when we had a big falling out about his absenteeism and all that stuff. And what's interesting is that you're absolutely right. He turned around, instead of expressing this to me, he was very much, the ego was at play. But he turned around and expressed to my aunt, may she rest in peace, that, well, because he was the middle child, so he felt that there were things that he felt slighted, because she was trying to do a comparative analysis. Here you are, you have your kids. Even though you had 2 older kids, you got now 2 younger kids. At the time, I'm still an adult, young adult. But I was trying to express, like, dude, you wasn't there. Like, don't be trying to pull rank to your point. You can't step in and be like, that ain't gonna work, you know. So, but he tried to combat that and telling her, listen, there were things that he missed as a kid with his parents, right? So it all comes back to some things that were affecting him. Now, that doesn't always happen to every man, because sometimes the man can have all the love and care with their kid, their parents and still screw up their kid, right? But he tried and he deflected. Instead of addressing it, he went that route. But then eventually, may he rest in peace, we still never fully got around to the apologies, but somehow we just ended up mending the relationship in a way where we could talk.
You got to a point.
We got to a point where we could talk and actually enjoyed it. And I realized I am a lot like him. Without even being in the household, there's a lot of similarities. And I was just like, oh, look at that.
Yeah. You don't have to
blow me down.
You don't have to actually live with the person to inherit some of their behaviors and characteristics.
Absolutely.
I've acknowledged that about I am very much like my dad in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yes, good to hear their story, right? And understand their story. But I also think if you didn't like how you were treated as a child,
change it.
You should change it. You should never. That's to me. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding judgmental in that way. But if my mom was doing something while raising me that I didn't like, I'm not going to do that same thing to my children.
Right.
I didn't like because I know how it made me feel.
That's right.
Yep.
But so many people end up repeating behaviors. How does that happen?
This is
how I am. This is all I knew.
Yeah.
That's not. No, you have the power to change it.
Yes.
They don't.
Depends
and
on
that is your power. To me, that is your power.
I said it all depends on what you bring to your child. Like,
right. Of course.
Even though my dad was strict, there was also discipline. There was always structure. I tried to bring that with my kids.
I think that's good.
I just didn't do the capital punishment. Now, unfortunately, my daughter would debate that and say that I chastised her more than I did my sons.
All daughters say that.
But that's also, there was no booklet here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes, you got the brunt. But as I did it, I learned from it and tried not to continue it.
Yeah.
No.
So I broke the cycle. But I always made sure there was discipline in some way, shape, or form.
I think discipline and structure is good, minus the capital punishment for sure.
Yeah.
And me being the only girl, I felt like my mother was harder on me than my brothers too. But hey, that's all. I think that's their way of protecting their daughters.
Yes.
To some degree. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. All right. Are we ready for fun fact?
Yes. So, people with daddy issues often develop hyper independence or people pleasing tendencies. Basically, they either trust no one or try to win everyone's approval, sometimes both at the same time. Psychologists even joke that they could write a whole textbook chapter just analyzing attachment styles rooted in father related issues. Of course, there is more complex and unique. It's unique to each person, but it definitely makes for an interesting personality trait in dating patterns. And people with so-called daddy issues often exhibit signs of insecure attachment styles, particularly anxious or avoidant attachment. This stems from inconsistent, absent, or overly critical parental figures during formative years. It can influence how they regulate emotions, trust others, and form romantic relationships. And studies even show it can correlate with heightened sensitivity to rejection and approval. In essence, early parental relationships literally shape how the brain wires for intimacy and self-worth. I mean, that wasn't funny. It was a little bit more deeper than I was expecting.
But it makes sense. It makes sense.
This is not something to really joke about, so I tried to.
Yeah, just falls within our segments.
But
it works. Some opinions out there are that daddy issues aren't just for women. Plenty of men have them too, but masculine ego.
That's correct.
We talked about that and believe it. Some people use daddy issues as an excuse for toxic behavior instead of healing.
Yes. Ooh, say that again, please.
People use daddy issues as an excuse of toxic behavior instead of healing. Heal, people, heal. Fathers who are emotionally unavailable can be just as damaging as absent fathers. We talked about that. Being raised by a single mom isn't always a struggle story. Sometimes we thrived.
Right. Yes.
Case in point.
That's right.
Thriving. So
story time.
Well, shoot, you shared your story. That's good enough.
Okay.
That
wasn't even the whole story. That was the surface.
We brought the story time to beginning, so we're good. We're good.
Yes.
All right.
So, good topic, heavy topic, but I think one worth sharing and talking about with our audience out there. So please tap in and join in the comments and tell us if you had anything that you would like to share about anything that you've experienced or want to enlighten us on about this topic, and we'll bring it back to the forum in the future. So
absolutely.
Yes.
All right.
Stay tuned for more.
Deuces. Ain't got nothing left. This was a heavy topic.
She was like,
Oh, dang, Joe.
you did good though.